In this video, I'll show you an automation that can automatically update your WordPress articles directly. It can improve the writing, change the tone, make things more concise. It can add a key takeaway section to make things a bit more engaging for readers above the fold. It can add YouTube videos by itself, as well as generate images, change formatting within the article, and in my case, I'm getting this to delete conclusions from the articles because they are a bit redundant. By the way, this is all while leaving links, short codes, images, and plugin data intact. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. I'm using make.com for this automation, where I can visually build this automation without writing code. If you want to get access to the blueprint so you can just import this at the click of a button, then check out the link in the description to our community, where you'll get access to all of our blueprints, including this one. At a high level, I have 2 test articles in my system here. All I need to do is right click and click copy link address, and I'll paste in the link to the edit page for this article, which will be this page. And I have a formula set up here, which you can just copy and paste. I'll zoom in a bit there. And that just extracts the ID of the post. And that just makes things easier, so we do not need to program it later. Sometimes it's just kind of easy to add in a formula. Every time we add in a link to another post, then that formula will also work, which is great. The automation will watch for new roles within that Google Sheet. Then it will get the post from WordPress. We're then using these 2 steps to get a YouTube video. And I'm using an interesting approach for this, where we're doing a Google search programmatically and then picking a video that's relevant for the article. So that's a pretty cool step that I'll show you in a while. We're then generating an image for the article and then just converting that to a JPEG format. We're uploading that to WordPress. And then we have a prompt here, which is a pretty big prompt, which does a lot, and then actually does the rewriting of the article. I'll show you that later. And then this updates the row to show that the result is complete. If you're new to make.com, don't be intimidated by this. This is actually a relatively simple flow. It should not take you too long to get set up with something like this. Okay, so my first very important point is that if you're doing this, make sure you have revisions turned on within your WordPress system. If you have not done that, then you will not be able to roll back the changes, because this automation is going to automatically update the articles. So just check to make sure that's in your interface. If you have revisions turned on, you can just go back to an old version, click restore this revision in the top right, and you can undo the changes. This automation should work quite well within the WordPress block editor or within the classic editor, where the main content of the article is stored within this area. But there are certain limitations. If the article is quite long, then you might need to extend the automation a bit, and I'll explain how you would do that later on. If you're using external plugins or page builders, such as Elementor, or if you have a lot of data stored within plugins that you want to update, then things get a bit more complex. Again, I'll explain that later. Right, we're going to start from the very beginning here. I'm going to add a Google Sheets module here, and I'm going to click Watch New Roles. So this is going to watch new roles, and I'm going to search by path, and I'm just going to click here to choose file. The sheet name is sheet 1. So this is our article. I'm going to delete that for the moment. I only want to update this article. And for the moment, I will limit 1. At the moment, I'm just going to run this manually, clicking the run once whenever I want to run it. You can schedule the automation later if you want. Instead of building this automation all at once, we're going to take it in manageable steps. So first off, we're just going to create the WordPress connection to update a post. When doing this the first time round, you're going to need to add a new connection. So how you do that is you go to add plugins within your WordPress site, type make connector, and then wait for that to load. And you see here there's make connector. Then just press activate on that. Then click on make on the left hand side. Then you will see a screen like this with the API key. Just copy and paste that API key out. Then go back to your scenario and paste that into the API key section here. And your WordPress base URL is basically your website with WP-JSON at the end. So if your website was example.com, just type WP-JSON at the end / and add your API key, and then you're connected. First off, we're just going to update that post just as a test. We're going to select posts, and take the post ID from this Google Sheet. So the post ID is this post ID. Then we're just going to say post updated and press OK and press run once. So this post, when we refresh the page, will look like this. Post updated. So I'm going to go to edit post. We know this works now. And this also shows that we need to have revisions turned on just in case we need to roll back changes. So I'm going to go to revisions, click and drag this, and select restore this revision. And there we go, it's restored. I'll refresh that page. And there we go. We have the original version. Now that we know we can update the main content within a post, we'll start to actually update the existing content instead of just overriding it. We'll start by adding a module, select WordPress and get a post. I'm going to select type posts and the post ID from this. There we go. I'm going to unlink this for the moment and then test that to make sure it works. So I'm going to run this module only. Whoops, sorry, I need to choose where to start. And by the way, because this has already run, it's not going to rerun it. If we go right click and choose all, it will restart. It'll restart processing from the very start. So I'll click run once and this will get the post. Now click this chat bubble icon up here and here we go. We see the main content. So this is the main content of the article. And this is WordPress block editor or Gutenberg code. If you're using the classic editor, you'll see something different, but this is the main content. So that looks good. We're calling this module because we need to get the existing post content in order to actually update it and know what to update. Next up, we're going to add an OpenAI module and create a completion. If you have not set up OpenAI, then you will need to create a new connection similar to how we did it for WordPress. And what to do is, you'll see something like this. Go to OpenAI, create an account. You'll be able to copy and paste out an API key and then paste it into the box that comes up. I'll leave a link in the description to explain how to do that in more detail. When you've done that, select the model. I'm using GPT-4o, which is the state-of-the-art model. You could also use other models, other AI models entirely, such as Claude for this, but I've got really good results from GPT-4o. We're going to start by setting a system role, and this will set the overall context for what we want this to do. In this case, I've said you will be provided WordPress code that uses the Gutenberg block editor. You will make the required updates to the code and respond with valid WordPress block editor code. You must retain any links, WordPress shortcodes, images, and embed codes within the article. You should only update. Oh, I'll delete this part actually. And do not start with this. I've added this line because I was getting bad output otherwise. Next, we're going to select a user role, and as opposed to the system role, which sets the overall context for what we want this to do, the user role will provide instructions to tell it exactly what we want to do in this particular call. So I've added this in as a starting point. Rewrite the first paragraph to make it more concise and format it using strong tag or using strong tags. Retain any links or shortcodes. If there's not currently a key takeaways within the first few paragraphs of the article, then add a key takeaways heading and add a HTML unordered list with the important key takeaways and add it after the first paragraph. Bold important words throughout the article using strong tags, but do so sparingly. Delete the conclusion section at the end if one exists. And then article content equals, we'll select the content here that we've received from this module. So you see here, number 4 matches number 4, and that's the content. And there we go. We'll select OK. By the way, we need to select max tokens. We're going to select 0, which will use the maximum limit of the model. I'll press OK. I'm now going to select the WordPress post, the updated WordPress post module. I'm going to link that with this OpenAI module, and I'm going to pass the content, the output from this, into the content. We originally added dummy content, which is just post updated. We're now going to add the result from that into this, and we'll see what happens. So we'll run this again. This is the existing article, and I'll compare this after we've updated it. And so I'll select run once. And I need to choose where to start. Select all again to start from the start of that sheet. And press run. So now it's got the result of the post. Looks good. And then this is running, which might take a few seconds because it's a long enough article. Okay, so that's done and it's updated the post. Let's see. Looks okay. Let's refresh this page and see what happens. Okay, there we go. Artificial intelligence has become a critical element of technological progress and societal transformation. So it's made this more concise. Again, this might not be exactly what you want, but you can tweak this prompt however you want. It's added a key takeaway section, which I think improves this quite a lot. And what else has it done? It's deleted the conclusion. Is there? Well, yeah, there was a conclusion in the original article. It's deleted the conclusion and retained this. Pretty cool. So that's an impressive amount of updates just for 4 modules chained together in make.com. I've not heard of anyone else talking about this online. This is just an approach that I came up with through trial and error, and it kind of blew my mind once I realized really that we can leverage the power of AI to make these updates directly without us having to write thousands of lines of code. Next up, we're going to generate an image. Right click, add module, and select OpenAI and generate an image. I'm going to use my existing OpenAI connection. You can use the one you added earlier. I'm going to click DALL-E 3. You can use any image model you want for this, such as Stable Diffusion or anything where you have access to an API. The prompt for this will just be generate an image for the following, and I'll select the title of the WordPress post. Select title there and select OK. After that, we're going to add a new module, and that's image. And oh, sorry, really important point, which is that we want the response format of this to be an image file. If you click URL, it will not work. So it will respond with the image file, and we're going to select image and convert a format. We're going to convert that to JPEG. A really nice feature of make.com is that it will automatically map this file so it knows what we're working with. I'm converting this to JPEG. This will be a really quick, easy step to reduce the file size before we upload it to WordPress. And actually, one other update is to change the image size to this. I think that means it'll be a wider image, more suitable for the WordPress post. I'm going to select auto align down here to clean things up. And we need to add a new module as well, which is WordPress and upload media. Whoops. Select media, create a media item. That's the one. And instead of doing what we did previously of automatically mapping, I'm going to select map. And this is automatically correctly selecting the data and the file name from this image. We then want to add in created and then .jpg. There's a quirk with the make.com image upload, which is that it will overwrite files if they're the same file name, which is not good news. So just save yourself a lot of headaches later on and add in the timestamp or something unique into the end of this. So created will actually add in the current date time to the end of the image. That will just stop it from automatically overriding existing files. And select OK. So now we're going to test this after, but we should have an image generated which is relevant. And then we're going to get this original prompt to magically add in that image into the article. I'm just going to update this and just write, you must add the following image after the 3rd paragraph of the article. And I'm going to go down to the create media item and select good. What that means is in this step, it's going to go to WordPress, upload the media item, and then we'll respond with data. We can then get the address of that image and add it here. So press OK. And so we do not need to update anything here. press save. Okay. So that's the original article. Again, we run this again. I'll choose where to start, select all, and select run once. This is going to take longer because generating an image is a little bit longer. Okay, so it's generated the image. The response image data is in binary, which is what we need. It's uploaded the media item and has uploaded a correct media item, it seems. Now it's going through this original prompt. Okay, that's complete. That took a little bit longer, like a minute and a half or something. Now let's refresh the page and see the results. All right, so it's done a similar update on the introduction and key takeaways. Let's scroll down and there we go. It's uploaded and it's generated and uploaded a new image, which is relevant for the article topic. We did not provide any other information for this particular image. It just takes the image title and creates an image out of it. So very little work for you to do there. And we can see that it has still deleted the conclusion. So things are looking good. This is a good way to build automations. Build it bit by bit, look at the results, and especially when you're using AI, take it step by step. The last step in this is to try and get the YouTube URL. This is a little bit more complicated, but I'll walk you through it. So I'm going to select these. By the way, you can multi-select modules in make.com. Hold shift and drag, and there you go. So I'm going to select a module, and here we're going to use HTTP and make a request. Because we're going to be getting the data from Google, you need to use an external service if you want to do this properly and with any level of reliability. I'm using the Data for SEO API. You can try it for free and you can call this API a lot of times before you ever have to pay for it. And when you do, the cost per transaction is so low. It's a fraction of a cent per call. So you sign up for an account and go to API access. You copy your API password out and go down to show advanced settings. Copy the password in there and your email address in there that you used for the account. So we're going to use this URL, dataforseo.com, VP SERP Google. You need to use this exact URL, so just copy that out. And we're going to use the post method. It's okay if you don't understand this, you can just copy the values that I'm using. Body type raw, content type JSON, and you need to copy this exactly as you see it here. And I'm going to select the title. What this is going to do is it's going to go to Google. It's going to take the article title and put youtube.com at the end. It's going to do something like this. Select enter, and then will result in this. There are lots of different ways you could get the YouTube data. I think this is one of the easiest, so I use this. And last thing, really important, is to parse the response. So I think we have everything we need there, and press OK. I'm going to test this manually and select run this module only. The title will just be the rise of youtube.com. Select OK. All right, so looking at the data and it looks okay. It has scraped what we need. The last thing, and this is the last node in this entire automation, is to add another module and go to ChatGPT. We're going to get ChatGPT to pick a YouTube URL from that scrape. So create a chat completion, GPT-4o, and the system role to set the context for this particular chat is you are an assistant that will return the first YouTube video URL that you can find in the following text. Only respond with the valid URL and no other text. We're going to select max token 0 and very importantly select user. What I'm going to explain here is pretty complicated. If you do not understand programming concepts, just copy and paste this code as you see it here. I'll explain it in programming terms as I'm writing it, but just bear with me. The result of that scrape will be something like this, but in programming terms. So it will be in structured format. We need to extract that before passing it to OpenAI. What you do is go to this message content, tasks, result, and items. In terms of the result, this is a collection of items. Each one of these is an item. If you look at the items here, we see a lot of gobbledygook here, and we need to extract the URL. So this is the youtube.com, which is what we need. Extract that URL, and then we're going to pass that to OpenAI. So we need to use the map function just write map and then semicolon and just write URL and then close your bracket. Now, unfortunately, that's still not enough. This will return an array, so you need to write join, open bracket, semicolon, and then you go up to A up here and select new line, which is a new line character. So that will take a fairly complicated array like this and turn it into something like this that you can pass to OpenAI. Right, we press OK and click this button to auto align and clean things up. The last thing we do, go back to this chat completion prompt and get it to add in that YouTube video and embed it within the article. So I'm getting it to, you must add the YouTube URL in plain text after the key takeaways list. I need to select the output from this. So this was a section where we got the YouTube URL. That's module 11. It's module 11 as you see there. So we're going to select the output from module 11, which is the result. There we go. Press OK. Auto align, press save. Make sure to save your work as you're doing this. I've learned that the hard way. Right, so I went back into revisions again there off camera and reverted this back to the old version. One other thing is that this article is a little bit wordy. There's a lot going on here, a bit difficult to read. I'm going to add another line to the prompt here, which is make the writing more concise throughout the article while retaining all the facts. You must retain all links and shortcodes when doing so. Let's add that in just to make sure. Select OK, select save, and go back here, go to choose where to start, all, and I'll run this entire thing again. Right, that's done. Let's check the results. I'm going to refresh the page here. All right, so we have the article, got key takeaways. So as you see, it's embedded a YouTube video automatically based on the topic of the article, which is pretty impressive. It has definitely made the writing more concise throughout the article while still retaining all these links, which look good. And it's removed the conclusion at the end. It's also still added in the image. Okay, I think that's pretty impressive. I'm going to try this with the other article just to see the results. So I'm just going to take the edit page for that, go back into the article, copy and paste that down. And by the way, actually, we'll add another step to the end of that scenario, which is to update this result. I'm going to go to Google Sheets and then update a row, select, enter manually. I'm going to select the spreadsheet that we're using at the start, which is spreadsheet ID. The sheet name is sheet 1, row number, scroll down here, and the row number is the row number that we're currently on in the Google Sheets, and column range A to Z. We just want to update column C and say update it. If you leave the others blank, it will not update those fields. So I'll select save. Okay, let's run that again for this article. I think in this case, it's going to make the text a little bit too concise and take away too much text, but we can adjust the prompting for that as we need. So I'll click run once and wait for that to run. Okay, that's done. Let's refresh the page, see what happens. So it has definitely made this more concise. It's added key takeaways. It's added the YouTube video. It's made things more concise while also retaining the links. It's added this image. And actually the text is pretty good there. What is AI? And has removed the conclusion. That's run successfully. It also updated this field to say that it's been updated. Finally, I forgot to add in the post link. In column D, you would add in the link. That would just give you the view link for the post. That's not really required for here. That would just copy and paste. That will copy and paste in the link to the post page rather than the edit page. Not required here, but I just added it in there in case you want to do that. So that was pretty successful. There are some limitations. If you want to output articles that are longer than that, such as 3,000 to 4,000 words, you'd need to get a bit more complex than this, such as adding multiple steps to break apart the article, because there are limitations to the amount of tokens that GPT-4, for example, can output in one go. If you want more information on how you would do that, then just drop a comment below. Also, if you have a more complicated WordPress setup, like using the Elementor page builder, or if you have a lot of content within plugins that you want to update, then things certainly get more complicated. In this automation, we were updating the main post content, which is, what you would see here. Whereas from a technical point of view, these external plugins store all their data within this post meta field or using other tables in the database. In order to update those, I think you really need to understand database structures, the WordPress database structure, and just kind of software development in general. I've personally created a much more complex version of an article system. In that case, I did it in code. If you need to start getting a lot more complex than this, then probably code is the answer, such as using Python scripts. If you need to call the OpenAI API lots of times, if you need to break apart the article and piece it back together, code honestly is a lot easier than this. It could get quite difficult to manage using a no-code tool, but it's technically possible. And the last few things, you could extend this automation by, instead of publishing the updates directly to WordPress, you could have a staging area or a draft area where you can at least approve the post changes before doing it. Again, that gets more complicated, so I have not done that in this automation. As per how much this costs to run, it's very cheap. The most expensive thing is probably the actual image generation, which is a few cents an image via OpenAI. You can use even cheaper image models. The Data for SEO API is ridiculously cheap, as I mentioned, and the OpenAI, because we're running this quite efficiently, it's very cheap, like a few cents per article maximum. So I hope you can use this in your automations. If you want to import this at the click of a button, then check out the link in the description for the link to our community, where you'll get access to all of our blueprints, including this one. If you have any questions on this, just drop me a comment below. Thanks for watching.